Attorney General, you and I were together in West Philadelphia just a little bit before the election. And while it is not the biggest news around the country and folks don't know that it's happening, it's been happening in Pennsylvania for some time. Republicans have been trying to meddle with the rules about the election since before the election. They have been at the forefront in Pennsylvania of the big lie, and now it is continuing.
That's exactly right, Ali. Before a single vote was cast in Pennsylvania, we were sued 19 times by Donald Trump and his allies, and we beat back each and every one of them. And then after the votes were cast, they tried to make it harder for those votes to count, and they sued us 21 times, and we won there as well. We had a safe, smooth, and secure election that was run by Republican and Democratic neighbors and communities all across Pennsylvania. Local officials, community people in those neighborhoods ran the elections. It was smooth and it was secure, period.
And the people who ran the elections, by the way, are not subscribing to the big lie. They, in most cases, like in Arizona or in Georgia, in some cases, Republicans are saying this didn't happen, the stuff that you're all accusing us of. But I want to just quote something from the Washington Post to you about how the courts can influence elections. It says in at least 93 bills in 26 states introduced this year that threaten judicial independence by limiting courts' power or injecting more politics into state judiciaries. According to the analysis, in at least 8 of these states, bills have specifically targeted election-related cases. In 21 states, broader court bills were introduced that would impact election cases, among others, by changing how judges are selected, which courts hear cases challenging the constitutionality of state elections, or how judicial decisions are enforced. So in addition to what Renee Graham just said, that you don't have to win anything, you just have to sow doubt, there is this other thing going on that in which we're dragging the courts into a place that is going to make it very difficult to adjudicate these things in the future.
That's exactly right, Ali. So let me break it down for you. After those 40-plus lawsuits that we beat back and the certification of the election here in Pennsylvania, then Republican lawmakers, seemingly at Donald Trump's urging, went to work to try and do 2 things. Number one, to gerrymander our courts and try and take control over that, and also to pass really the exact same bills that are now law in Georgia and in Texas and are being pursued in other states, to try and make it harder for people to access the ballot box, particularly people in our black and brown communities, to make it harder for their voices to be heard, harder for them to count in our democracy. The good news is here in Pennsylvania, we have a Democratic governor who's going to veto those bills. But it's dangerous to think what could happen if they were in charge. You referenced one of the leading candidates for governor here in Pennsylvania. There's a few folks who have said they want to run for governor or senate here in Pennsylvania on the Republican side. None of them are willing to denounce Donald Trump. All of them seem to subscribe to the big lie, and all of them are doing great damage to our democracy. They are dangerous. These bills are dangerous. Efforts to gerrymander our courts are dangerous. We can't just simply dismiss this as some fringe characters or some, wackadoodles, as some people have referred to them as. These are dangerous people doing real damage to our democracy.
You tweeted yesterday, time will tell whether the trust that was damaged in the aftermath of the election can ever be fully restored, but imposing accountability on those responsible can play a vital role in that process. I'm curious, what does that accountability look like? Is it in the courts? Is it what we see in Georgia with this grassroots movement where people were told either vote or lose your vote? The threat was given to them that this is what they are doing. They're trying to take your vote away. Is that the kind of thing that Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, all these places need?
Well, accountability has to come in a lot of different ways. It certainly has to come at the ballot box, where we hold people accountable who have tried to make it harder for us to count in our democracy. But for me, as the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, the chief law enforcement legal officer of the Commonwealth, accountability comes by holding those accountable who have tried to undermine our courts. We have rules in our court system, both at the state and the federal level. You're not allowed to waste the court's time. You're not allowed to lie to the court. You have a duty of candor to the court. Yet we have lawyers like Rudy Giuliani who have come to our courts in Pennsylvania and lied about what happened here and wasted the court's time. It's one of the reasons why I've appealed to the disciplinary board in New York State to try and hold Rudy Giuliani accountable. It's one of the reasons why I sought sanctions in a case out in Colorado where they lied about some ridiculous conspiracy between poll workers in Pennsylvania and Mark Zuckerberg and Dominion voting system. These lawyers need to be held accountable. Elected officials who push the big lie need to be held accountable. And then, Ali, we've got to get back to some truth-telling in this Commonwealth and in this country. Let's get back to an agreement on a basic set of facts, so then we can have a spirited debate about the issues that are critically important for us. You know, tonight, I was playing hoops with some kids in West Philadelphia, not too far from where you and I spoke just before the election. I was at the Christie Rec Center. They're worried about gun violence. They're worried about getting a quality education. They're worried about economic opportunities. Those are the issues we need our elected leaders focused on. We got to get back to that, get away from the big lie, and start talking some truth in this country and addressing some of these big issues. I applaud the people in Harrisburg and Washington who are trying to do it, but we've got to make sure that all people are held accountable to the truth and to delivering for people in our communities.